I became a full-time producer at 23 with 9 top 50 records, 120 million streams. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that I took so that you can go full-time without wasting years figuring this out yourself. The first thing is that I had some problems. I had 0 brand, 0 credibility, and 0 connections. Of course, I had good beats, but so does everybody else. It's not good enough to just have good music to try and stand out nowadays. There's a lot of competition, there's a lot of people doing this, and simply having good beats isn't enough anymore. Nobody had a reason to take me seriously because I had 0 social proof. Social proof plays such a crucial role in this game and making it work, but when you're just starting out, you have none of that. Because of that, my presence online and my presence overall just didn't communicate value or experience. And when you have no value or experience, you'll struggle getting people to work with because there's other people just as good as you with value and experience, and because of that, they're going to be winning and getting ahead of you. As a result of that, I had no placements, no network, and no way in to bigger artists. And what I needed was real world reps, not tutorials, not gear, not beat packs, none of that mattered. All I needed was the repetition and a way to actually get my in and start building my name and my brand. And that is what I'm going to walk you through here. But before we do that, if you want a copy of this Google Doc and to learn more about producing full-time, then you can join my free community. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. So here's the community. And what we got in here is a classroom with some content, some resources. We got a calendar where we're doing 1 feedback call a week. And everybody is in here sharing helpful resources, wins, helping each other out. And it's just a nice vibe overall. So if you're really serious about this and want to make this easier, I highly recommend joining in. Let's get back to the actual steps and what I did to fix these things so that I could start producing full-time. Step 1 is foundations. What I did in step 1 was simply to build skill, proof, and presence. So I'm gonna walk you through what I did. Now, as I mentioned, I had nothing going on at this time. I knew nobody, nobody knew me, and nobody wanted to work with me. So the first thing I did was that I went through all of the contacts that I already had. All of the contacts on my phone, Instagram, like the few followers that I had, Snapchat, whatever, and reached out to everyone to try and get new artists. And what I did wasn't that I just reached out to people who I thought were artists. I reached out to everybody. And I asked them if they were an artist. I would just be like, hey, what's up? Long time no speak. How are you doing? Nice. What are you working on right now? Oh, sick. I think I got some beats like that. Would love to send some your way. Whatever. If they weren't an artist, I would just reach out to them. Hey, how are you doing? What's up? Oh, you've been doing this thing? That's awesome. By the way, you don't happen to know anybody that is currently looking for a producer, or you don't happen to know any rappers, etc., etc. This is like, if you're going to do this, there's no need to overthink it, because it's literally just, if you know these people, you know the relationship you have, you know what would make sense to say. Don't be afraid to ask people, because right now you have nothing and you might be just a DM away from actually getting something. Being afraid to ask and not checking in with people will massively hold you back, and it's something that you need to get used to eventually anyways. So just ask, get people, find them, ask, hey, do you know anybody, or do you want beats? If they say no, you're in the same exact spot as you were before. If they say yes, you made progress and you're 1 step closer to your goal. The goal here isn't to make your career. The goal here is just that you want to get enough people to work with so that you can get the reps in and get experience. And that's exactly what I did. So I started making beats for people, because that's different than just making beats by yourself. They're going to give you references. You're going to get experience with that. And I started taking every session I could. If I were in the same city, same location, just get in a session and start learning how to record artists, improve my workflow, and learn how to run sessions like a producer and not just being a beat maker. So that's what I did here. And the way that I got these first people to work with was just by looking at friends, checking in with friends, checking in with people who might know other people. And that gave me enough to get some experience and start getting good at actually doing this. And then every single thing I did, every release, I would drop, kind of lost track, but every single release I would drop on IG. Every single session, I would just film it, post it to story, behind the scenes stuff, and just prove that I was active and I was working and I actually were doing stuff. And already there, just by some very small releases, I started to get more followers. And then that led to me asking more people like, hey, do you know anybody? And then once they saw that I was actually doing something, it became more relevant, because then they're like, okay, he has some songs, he has done some stuff. Okay, cool. Well, I do actually know this artist. And that is through that exact approach that I pretty early on got a record with 6 million streams. And I also got a lot of other small releases. And that gave me some immediate credibility and, and proof of skill. So essentially, by just reaching out to friends, I was able to get a record with 6 million streams. And from there, that made everything so much easier, because now I had that. People knew it was kind of locally a song that people listened to. People knew a song that I made, and I could use that to start getting more and more artists. Which brings me into step number 2, which was to flood the underground. And this is to just build social proof fast. What I did once I had this record, once I had a bunch of small releases, was that I just focused on flooding the underground. Every single underground rapper that were either connected to bigger artists or strong up and coming artists with like 10K plus monthly listeners, I went hard on networking with those people, because that's the next logical step. And if I could flood the underground and be the underground's go-to producer, that would eventually lead to getting these bigger and bigger artists. And when I'm talking about bigger artists, like, I'm not from America, I'm not talking about these world artists. I'm talking about artists with 500K to 1 million monthly listeners, because I've seen that's where you can actually make some pretty good money doing this. And most importantly, do this full time. The first thing I did was, as I mentioned, small, serious artists connected to bigger artists. I would mainly focus on people connected. However, it has also been beneficial to me to work with artists who aren't necessarily connected, but are on their way and are actually putting in the work and effort and are good. What I did was that I checked who big artists followed and worked through their circle from the bottom and up. So when I was starting out, I would look at the smallest guys that they were following and literally reach out to people with 1,000 followers, 500 followers, whatever, just to kind of get my foot in the door. And I can just show you an example. So this is a bigger artist in Germany. Then I just look through the followers, find somebody here. Okay, 1,200, artist, boom. And then that's how I found artists. The second way was that I would go to Spotify playlists. What I would do on the Spotify playlist is that I would look for bigger up and coming artists. So looking for artists with 10K plus monthly listeners that looks like they're on their way, essentially, and that I could reach out to. So ripping through the playlist, looking, researching, and doing my due diligence of actually finding these people. Then the second or third and last thing was just to simply keep my eyes open. So like, if there came out promo pages or a rapper was doing some kind of like tournament, event, whatever, check the people who were active on those. And also, TikTok, if you ever find yourself doom scrolling on TikTok, just check the names of the people that come up on your feed. Some of them might be on their way, some of them might actually be putting in some real work, some of them might actually be really good artists. And if you can connect early with a good artist, that's always a plus. But I wouldn't simply rely on that, because small artists are it's hard to predict whether they're going to make it work or not, because there's so much that's up to them and not up to you. So you want to connect with smaller artists, sure, that you think have the potential to do something great, but also connect with smaller artists connected to bigger artists and do both of those things. So that's what I did. And when it came to actually reaching out, I used the process that I call soft networking. And soft networking is essentially boiled down to, you start by interacting in public, so through comments, story reposts, and essentially public support before you start DMing. And I found that work pretty well since there's so many people like just DMing saying, yo, let me send you shit, whatever. But if you do this way, you stand out, you gain recognition through the comments, and then you can build a naturally forming relationship around that, which is far more beneficial than just trying to spam a bunch of DMs. So, for example, I've connected with people this way, like people have commented on my shit, I've connected this way, and I've commented on other stuff, and that's how I've been connecting with people, almost exclusively, always. Especially story reposts have been insanely powerful. So the way that I would go about story reposts is that first thing, whenever I would follow the artist, maybe like some of their posts, then if they release a song, repost that, tag them in it. That easy. And that's a way that you can start connecting with people without just sending a bunch of DMs. And when you repost a story, you get straight in an inbox. You can start forming a relationship. Then also through comments or specific comments. Here are some examples of people commenting on my stuff. This means ice cold, by the way. Hitmaker, whatever. And that's a great way to start connecting from the get-go. Then, when I got responses, I started reaching out in the DMs. Now, these aren't mine. These are with guys I'm working with right now because that's in English and I want to do this in English. Here somebody replied, and obviously for personal reasons I blurred out responses. So for example here, this guy, he responded to a story. Simple as that. Then you ask a question about it, just form a connection. And sometimes you don't even have to go for the ask and ask them to start sending stuff straight away. Especially if there's like a difference in, like they might be a couple levels above you. You don't even have to go for that. You can just show love the first time and then come back and once you find an opportunity, then you can go for the ask. Here's another example. I know that he commented on stuff. They show some love in public, and then it's like, hey, what up? I'm a proud from MI. Appreciate your artistry on the mic. Glacier 2, specific song. The album on Spotify. Faster bars are fire too. I'm gonna cook up a custom pack for you. What sort of beats are you looking for lately? And this is so powerful because it's like, oh, I want to make this custom thing for you. I want to put in work for you up front and give you that. Way more powerful than just being like, hey, I just got these things for you. Check them out. Because here it's like, hey, I want to make you something custom for you specifically. What are you looking for? And then as you can see, very positive and happy response to that. And this is the exact process that I followed. And what that allowed me to do was to stack releases with underground artists and gaining more mutual followers, more proof, because again, I was networking with people connected to bigger artists. So what ends up happening is that you gather all of the social proof in the form of releases with their friends and you gain followers. So when you have mutual followers, think about yourself. If somebody hits you up and you see, oh, wait, he knows this guy, he's done this song, you're far more likely to be interested and to care. Because there's no like magical outreach message that you can send to instantly get responses and have people love you. No, it doesn't exist. But rather, when you build these things and you build up your social bank and social proof, that's when you're going to start getting responses. So this becomes easier with time. And you just want to flood the underground, as I mentioned. Work with as many as people as possible in the underground to build up your social proof. And this compounds. So as I mentioned, getting the releases, getting the mutual followers, all of that made outreach 10 times easier. And that's when you can move on to step 3, or that's when I moved on to step 3, which is to level up and move into even bigger circles or with bigger artists. So after working with everybody around a bigger artist, literally sometimes bigger artists started reaching out to me. I did not even have to do it. They would repost releases and tag me on their stories. They would comment on my stuff. Then I would take the relationship from there. So that happens. Now, if that doesn't happen, you also want to be proactive yourself and take matters into your own hands. So as soon as you have a release with somebody's friend or whatever, you can follow them. Or if they share that to their story, like the friend's release, maybe they don't even tag you, you can just like that story. Get them to check you out. Start building that recognition, start building that rapport with them. And another thing that I did here was that I started increasing my surface area. So I went to events, try to sometimes go to sessions just to be a fly on the wall, like with other producers. Started networking more with managers, being like, hey, I made these beats specifically for your artists. I'd love to send them over, stuff like that. And A&Rs, anyone connected to opportunity. That's what I started doing here. But having that first phase of just flooding the underground actually made this thing way easier, because then they can see that, okay, he's putting that work in, he got some good stuff, he can definitely be worth working with. And every time that I got a release with a small artist, as I mentioned, I used that as leverage to reach out to one level higher. So let's say I work with an artist, 10K monthly listeners, boom, that's done, out in the world, it's getting some traction. Then I just reach out to their friend who maybe has 50K and just keep climbing that ladder. And for the entire time, like the most of the work doesn't change here. Like when it comes to the outreach, when it comes to making songs for them, when it comes to the sessions, the work doesn't change. It's just with different people. So I just repeated the same soft networking approach at every tier. And it doesn't stop working. It's the same thing. It's just that your brand needs to be stronger, needs to be bigger, and your social proof needs to be stronger and bigger in order for this to work with bigger artists. But it's the same exact thing. And when you're building up this groundwork, it's so much more beneficial, because you're not like shooting out of your league. You're actually coming to them with value from the get-go. So that makes it way easier, and it makes it more natural as well. And I honestly like slowly climbed the ladder while letting my catalog, reputation, and relationships do the heavy lifting. And that's the best position to be in. Now, the outcome is that a real career formed around me. So I built a strong, respected network in my niche with producers, artists, managers, and A&Rs. That led to me creating a consistent catalog of releases that showed momentum and reliability. And that led to me getting invited to studio sessions and circles that were previously impossible to reach, all simply because I built my brand, built my social proof by actually doing shit. And when I did that, bigger artists actually started recognizing me because all of their friends already worked with me. And by the point where I got to having records that hit the charts, at that point it was like, it's game over. Then people just reach out. You don't even have to do it anymore. So lessons learned here is that brand over beats every single day of the week. Everybody has good beats. Few have proof, presence, and relationships. This is the name of the game. This is what you need. Good beats, fine. It's a requirement to even get started. But that's the baseline. You need to have that. Then soft networking wins. Genuine interactions beats cold DMs 100 to 1, always. Because this is a people's and relationship business. And if you don't get along with the people and you're not good at building relationships, this is going to be super hard. Then start small and stack up. Every release, mutual follower, and connection compounds. And that is the thing about this. You might be doing it for 1 month, 2 months, nothing really happens. That's how it is. But this compounds, and you'll have this exponential growth further on if you just stick to it and keep going. Then, of course, like show your work. Post everything. People trust what they can see. So when you have a release, post it. When somebody posts a snippet or a recording of a song you did with them, repost it to your story. Just show everything. And work the circle, not the target. The fastest path to bigger artists is by taking the long route and working with the people around them so that you can get to them eventually.